of this century in baseball and in U.S. history in a matter of 1 minute and 40 seconds. We'll be sharing more high moments for you during the course of the series. I'm 47 and a rookie in the World Series. After 15 years in baseball, I'm excited to get to my first one, as many of the players are. But the veterans are up in the booth. Both played on winning World Series team. Ironically, one is from St. Louis and one grew up in Milwaukee. Let's go now to Tony Kubek, Joe Garagiola.
Okay, Dick, thank you very much. Tony, I think the oversimplification in this series is to talk about the power of Milwaukee, the speed of the Cardinals, but I don't think you can overlook the defense of Milwaukee nor their speed. I think a big overview would be to take a look at the base on balls as to what the teams do. The Cardinals can take it and turn it into a double or a triple. Milwaukee can turn it into a big inning with their power hitters.
Joe, I think aside from the pitcher's mound, more ball games are won or lost right in the middle of the diamond. And fortunately in this World Series, we've got three best double play combinations, I think, in baseball. I don't think there's any doubt that Ozzie Smith and Herr are the best. Yount and the second baseman Ganter are very good. They led the league in double plays.
Well, we're going to find out. You can do all the talking, but it happens on the field. Let's go to PA announcer Joel Myers and get introduced to him.
Let's meet the American League champions, the Milwaukee Brewers. First, the coaching staff. Larry Haney down in the bullpen. Ron Hansen. Harry Warner. Also in the bullpen, Cal McClitch. And down in the bullpen, Pat Dobson. Now the Brewers' non-starters. Catcher Ned Yost. Infielder Don Money. Infielder Rob Piccolo. Pitcher Bob McClure. Infielder Ed Romero. Outfielder Marshall Edwards. Pitcher Don Sutton. Pitcher Peter Ladd. Outfielder Mark Bruhard. Pitcher Moose Haas. Pitcher Doc Medich. Pitcher Raleigh Fingers. Pitcher Jim Slayton. Pitcher Dwight Bernard. And pitcher Pete Vukovich. The Milwaukee trainers are Freddie Frederico and John Adam, and the equipment manager is Bob Sullivan. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers. Leading off, number 4, third baseman Paul Molitor. Batting second, number 19, shortstop Robin Yount. Hitting third, number 15, first baseman Cecil Cooper. Batting cleanup, number 23, catcher Ted Simmons. Hitting fifth, number 24, left fielder Ben Ogilvie. Batting sixth, number 20, center fielder Gorman Thomas. Hitting seventh, number 13, designated hitter Roy Howell. Batting eighth, number 22, right fielder Charlie Moore. And hitting ninth, number 17, second baseman Jim Gantner. And in the bullpen, the starting pitcher, number 48, Mike Caldwell. And the manager of the American League champions, Harvey Keene. Introducing the National League champions, the St. Louis Cardinals. First, the coaching staff. Red Shanedeans, Dave Ricketts, Chuck Hiller, Al Lanier, and down in the bullpen, Hub Kittle. Now the Redbirds non-starters. Infielder Mike Ramsey. In the bullpen, catcher Glenn Brummer. Infielder Julio Gonzalez. Outfielder Dane Orge. Outfielder Steve Braun. Pitcher Jeff Lottie. Pitcher John Martin. Pitcher Jim Kotz. Pitcher Steve Mura. Pitcher Dave LaPointe. Pitcher Doug Bear. Pitcher Bruce Sutter. Pitcher Joaquin Andujar. Pitcher John Stuper. And outfielder Willie McGee. The St. Louis trainers are Gene Gieselman and trainer emeritus Bob Bowman, and the equipment manager is Butch Yackaman. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals. Leading off for the Redbirds, number 28, second baseman Tom Herr. Batting second, number 27, left fielder Lonnie Smith. Hitting third, number 37, first baseman Keith Hernandez. Batting cleanup, number 25, right fielder George Hendrick. Hitting fifth, number 18, designated hitter Gene Tennis. Batting sixth, the most valuable player in the National League Championship Series, number 15, catcher Darrell Porter. Hitting seventh, number 22, center fielder David Green. Batting eighth, number 10, third baseman Ken Oberkfell. And hitting ninth, number 1, shortstop Ozzie Smith. And down in the bullpen, warming up for the Redbirds, number 31, Bob Forsch. And the manager of the National League champions, Whitey Herzog. And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise as we honor America with our national anthem, which tonight will be sung by popular recording star Lou Rawls.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So, Mike Caldwell for Milwaukee, Bob Forsch for the Cardinals. We'll be back after these messages for Game 1 of the '82 World Series. Evening Lewis, NBC Sports presents Game 1 of the 1982 World Series. The American League champions, the Milwaukee Brewers, against the National League champions, the St. Louis Cardinals. Brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Lowenbrau. When you want the taste of a truly great beer, there's really only one. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrau. By Gillette Atra Razor, the twin blade that pivots for a close, comfortable shave. And by Seiko and your authorized Seiko dealers. A beautiful night here in St. Louis and a capacity crowd here for Game 1. And there he is, the chairman of the board, August A. Bush Jr. Along with the commissioner, he threw out the first ball to get it started. And we have a baseball game. Forsch against Caldwell.
Here are the stats on Bob Forsch. He will not walk many. He will not strike out many. Pinpoint control. Good slider, curve, and as some of the scouts who scouted him for the Milwaukee Brewers said, he had about the liveliest fastball. They'd seen him in 5 appearances against Atlanta. You have to hit your way on, and when you've got a defense behind you like Smith and her up the middle of the diamond, well, they are rally stoppers.
They've got great speed in that outfield. You'll really see some jackrabbits. So Paul Molitor leads it off for Milwaukee. 1982, he had 19 home runs, 71 runs batted in, hit .302.
And Obrick foul at third base, already up close because Molly will bunt.
First pitch of the World Series, 1982 style, foul ball out of play.
If you had to categorize the Milwaukee Brewers, you would probably say they are not a wild swinging bunch, but they don't take a lot of pitches. They're a fastball hitting club. Forsch will challenge them as often as he can with his breaking stuff. He's got a good slider and a good curve.
Fastball misses, it's 1-1. Tony, when you talk about a free swinging ball club, they didn't strike out as much as the Cardinals, who are slap hitters.
Surprising.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count. Molitor, born in St. Paul, Minnesota, lives in Mequon, Michigan, or Wisconsin rather, with his wife Linda. On the right field line, that's going to be out of play.
It has been said by almost every American League club that has played the Brewers all year long, if you can keep Molitor and Yount off the bases, you can beat this ball club. And what Baltimore did at the end of the season, 3 of those 4 ball games anyway, first 3 in Baltimore, they kept these 2 off. But they didn't handle Yount especially in game number 162.
Bouncing ball. Easy coming up, and what a tremendous year he had. 29 home runs, 114 RBIs, a .331 average. With Tony Kubek, Dick Enberg, and Tom Seaver, who'll be joining them. Joe Garagiola here in Busch Stadium, St. Louis. Game 1. There's a strike. He throws a lot of them, Bob Ford.
I'll tell you, with his spacious outfield that Tom Seaver told you about, the youngster in center field, David Green, is playing very shallow for a man with Robin Yount's power. He could get burned.
Strike 2, breaking ball.
Here's the field. Ball carries well down the lines from the power alleys to center. It's tough to hit it out of. So how deeply Ozzie Smith is playing at shortstop. He does that for almost everyone, even fast runners.
Just missed with the fastball. There you see a shot at the defense. Ozzie Smith, the point of reference would be that line. He plays behind it, sneaking up with 2-strike count on Robin Yount. Inside, 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out, no score, top of the first. Yount's a big guy, 6-footer, 170, born in Danville, Illinois, lives in Thousand Oaks, California. Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Forsch will average 2.1 walks per 9 innings. He doesn't give out many free tickets. You have to pay your way on. Harvey Keene, what a story. Count remains at 3-2. Robin Yount, as we look at Whitey Herzog, Robin Yount and his manager have something in common. Yount, first American League shortstop since 1954 to collect 200 hits, and that man was Harvey Keene.
Power stats that Robin put on the board are just amazing. Slugging percentage, extra base hit total.
There's a base hit to left field. Robin Yount singles to left, he's on.
It'll be interesting to see if, with all the hullabaloo about the Cardinal speed, and they do have a lot, on artificial surface in a short series, whether the Brewers run a little bit more. Yount has the capability of stealing bases, as does Molitor. Cooper has pretty good speed.
You see Cooper's average, .313, 32 home runs, 121 runs batted in. Open stance, he can pull the ball. He's got the gap between first and second to shoot for. It's ball 1. Cecil Cooper, born in Brenham, Texas. Now lives in Wisconsin.
Cooper, a good low ball hitter. Forsch, at times, if he's got his fastball, he can pitch upstairs, but basically he's got to keep his breaking stuff and fastball down.
2 balls and no strikes, and it's very rare indeed when these Milwaukee Brewers don't get a hit sign from the third base coach when they've got that pitcher crippled. 2 balls and no strikes, and 3-1.
That was an interesting close-up shot, which will show you as this game progresses, of Forsch working on the baseball, something he is not supposed to do. We'll try and get it for you one more time. A chance?
He's got a quick move, Bob Forsch.
Hernandez very aggressive at getting off that bag at first base. Watch how he jumps out to protect that hole. He's probably the best in the business at that. Look at him, like a runner in the starting blocks. As soon as that ball goes home, he wants to protect that hole with Cooper, the left-hander, up.
Keeps that glove nice and low, too. Watch him, almost on the ground. Outside, 3-0. Now, Harry Warner at third base will flash a sign. Cooper, look at those eyes, man. That's like the kid on Christmas morning. Do I get the hit 3-0? He's looking for the hit sign. That's when the manager controls it, and you pick a pitch in a particular spot. You don't just say fastball, you say low inside fastball. Walked him. Cooper is on, so base runners are at first and second. 1 man out brings up Ted Simmons.
Kind of reaction he gets.
Cleanup for the Brewers, number 20.
Hub Kittle.
Catcher Ted Simmons.
Took 54 years to get to the major leagues. Now 65. He comes out to talk to Forrest. What a marvelous job he has done, especially with a young pitching staff.
He was on the bench and somebody said, Hub, as long as it's taking you to get here, you probably want this to go 7 games. He said, no, I'd just as soon finish it in 4.
He pitched professionally for an inning or so when he was, what, 61 or 2? Got in for an inning, retired a few hitters.
Here is Ted Simmons, 23 home runs, 97 runs batted in, a .269 average. 1 man out, no score, top of the first. Missing. He's pitching like he's being very careful, like he doesn't want to get that ball into that fat part of the strike zone when it hits the outside part of the plate. As we look at Yount at second and Cooper on at first. He's falling behind the hitters, and you're playing with fire.
Joe, I would think that Forrest, primarily a breaking ball pitcher, you'd want to obviously try and get him early before he can get the feel of that pitch.
1 ball, 1 strike.
What Forrest does, especially when he gets a new ball, he will take his fingernails and dig them into the seams and try and lift the seams a little bit. He's not applying a foreign substance, but it could be construed as doctoring a baseball. He does that to try and get more bite on his breaking pitches.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Joe, you must be very familiar with that, because there he is. You'll see him digging those 2 fingers into the seams and trying to lift the seams just a little bit to get that little bit of a rough edge.
Right there.
See it? Trying to almost scrape it with hard fingernails. Now that can be construed as doctoring a baseball. You're not supposed to do anything. The rule specifically says it. I've never seen it called on him. You can see aerodynamically with the seams a little bit raised and roughed up, you might get a little more bite. And he pitched like a slider, a curveball, and there's a lot of spin on it.
1-2 pitch to Simmons. A foul ball. He just threw his hands up, never waved foul.
Bill Haller, the umpire at first base, waiting to make sure.
They're sending him back now.
Umpires, Lee Wired, home plate, National League, Bill Haller, first base. American League, John Kibler, second base. Davey Phillips, the American League, third base. Left field foul line, Satch Davidson, National League. Jim Evans down the right field foul line. Simmons, a good double play candidate. He hit in the 20 this year. It's a ball hard on the ground.
1-2 pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Robin Yount is on at second base. A base hit to left field. Cooper walked. And those are the base runners. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Top of the first, no score.
And so far, we are not seeing the Force, who's had exceptional control over the month of September.
That's a foul ball out of play. Force has a unique way of coming set. Many pitchers, you'll see him standing straight up. He kind of bends at the knees, almost like he's going to sneak a ball by you. There he goes, digging the ball again. I imagine he wears out about 8 or 10 hats during the year, too. He's always taking that hat off. Struck him out.
Like one of those sliders that started outside 5-6 inches and just came around the outside corner of the plate.
He caught the outside part of the plate and got a big out, second out of the inning. Here is Ben Oglivie, 34 home runs, 102 runs batted in, 244. Born in Colon, Panama, Colon, resides in Mesa, Arizona.
Will be interesting to see how Benji swings the bat. He injured his ribs, League Championship Series, and then when the crowd went on the field after Game 5 in Milwaukee, he got thrown to the ground and bumped pretty badly by some fans and re-injured his ribs. It's on the right side.
Yount is on at second base. Cooper's on at first. There are 2 outs, no score, top of the first. 1-0 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. They have really swung around. Ozzie Smith really giving him a lot of room as he's almost playing directly behind the bag. Ogilvie is a good RBI man. He's averaged 89 RBIs in his last 5 seasons with the Brewers. There you see Smith coming into your picture. Moved him back. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Ogilvie can go down and get the low pitch. Throw him low and inside, and he can jerk it. Earlier this season, in fact, most of his career, he was much closer to home plate. He's moved off about 6 inches to a foot. They were jamming him so much inside.
Foul ball out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And moving off the plate, Joe, that's another thing he's doing a little bit more of. He used to try and pull almost everything. He will slap the ball in left field a little bit more now.
Now, he doesn't look very big, but he's strong. He is really strong. He's listed at 6'2", 170 pounds, but he can generate a lot of power. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, no score, top of the first. Off Hernandez. Here comes Robin Yount in to score. Heading for third is Cooper. It's 1-0 Milwaukee.
Hit very hard, obviously, at Hernandez, and it hit that turf, and ordinarily that ball bounces up a little higher. He may have had some overspin. Oh, it may have gone where? Right through his legs?
Never came up.
Almost off his shin bone. Ordinarily, a ball like that will bound up. You've given him an air. You see that very infrequently with that man. He's won, I think, about 4 Gold Gloves. I think that top spin that he had on that ball when he got that top hand through, Joe, put that hook spin like you'd get in a golf hook, and it just bit into the turf and almost took his shin off.
Gorman Thomas, check swing, foul ball, strike 1. The official scores are Dave Nightingale of the Sporting News, Jack Herman of the St. Louis Globe-Democrat, and Dick Young of the New York Post, and they have ruled it an error on Hernandez, and Milwaukee has taken a 1-0 lead. Base runners at first and third, 2 outs, and Gorman Thomas, who hit 39 home runs and drove in 112 runs, stands in there. Strike 2. Base runners. Cooper's at third. Ogilvie is at first. Outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Keith Hernandez at first base, who doesn't make many errors, is charged with an error on a ball hit by Ogilvie. Thomas with 2 strikes just tries to get that bat on that ball most of the time. And he drills one in the corner in left field. It is a foul ball. Foul ball. He almost hit that ball flat-footed, Tony.
That's what he calls his Harvey Keene stance. Gorman Thomas has always struck out a lot. When Harvey was the hitting instructor before he became manager, he got Gorman against certain types of pitchers to hit almost flat-footed and peck away. Lonnie Smith ran a long way and came very close to catching that ball. Lonnie Smith this year has been erratic in the outfield, but he has also been a surprise to Whitey Herzog. He said, I think he played better than we ever expected. He came close to catching that ball.
Yes, he
did. But I really think that they will run on his throwing arm before this series is over with.
It's 1 ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Base runners at first and third. Milwaukee leading 1-0 here in the top of the first. In the hole, Ozzie Smith knocks it down, can't make a play, and it's 2-0 as Cecil Cooper scores from third on the infield hit by Gorman Thomas. He hit the ball in the hole. Oberkfell couldn't get it, and Ozzie Smith got a glove on it, but there was no play.
Ozzie does not overplay a lot of hitters. He's one of the few shortstops that plays a lot of people straight away. Look at how far he went. I can think of no other shortstop who would have touched that ball. He's remarkable. You'll see him do a lot of acrobatics before this is over. I doubt if he could have gotten Ogilvie at second base from that distance.
So it's 2-0 Milwaukee. Howell is the batter, the DH. The
people have been talking about the advantage of the speed on the artificial surf for the Cardinals, and it will be, but you've got to remember, as hard as the Milwaukee Brewers hit the ball, there are going to be a lot of those ground balls are going to go through for them also.
So at first base is Gorman Thomas. At second base, Ben Ogilvie. 2 runs are in, and the crowd was really loud to start. It's calmed down. Howell is hit by the pitch. Bases are loaded. Roy Howell hit by a pitch ball, so Bob Forsch is really having a rugged inning. 2 runs are in, bases are loaded, and Charlie Moore is the batter.
The way the Brewers are swinging, he may have tried to come inside and just move him off the plate. Roy Howell stands off the plate quite a bit and dives into the ball so he can reach the outside corner. Whitey Herzog, Red Shaindienst, bullpen starts going. Jeff Lottie begins to throw.
Bob Forsch had hit 4 batters during the regular season, has just hit one now to load him up, and Charlie Moore with the 254 averages in there. And there's his strike. Milwaukee, after Molitor bounced out, Yount singled, Cooper walked, Simmons was called out on strikes. Error by Hernandez, a single by Thomas, hit batsman, 2-run in, foul ball, and bases are loaded. Charlie Moore, who has done quite a job for these Brewers in the outfield. He was born in Birmingham, Alabama, lives in Greendale, Wisconsin. He's become quite an outfielder.
So 1 through 9, there's not much rest in this Brewer team. Charlie Moore has had an off year at the bat. He's had a 300 year in the big leagues. You see, he's opened up his stance a little bit and come up more on the plate.
It's popped up. Hernandez in foul territory has plenty of room. He makes the play. So that retires the side, but the error by Hernandez led in the first run. A base hit by Thomas drove in the second run. We go to the bottom of the first. It's Milwaukee 2, Cardinals coming to bat.
These families are learning about who...
All members of Sportsman's Park, there's the ballpark now as the Goodyear Blimp America with Captain Larry Chambers from Spring, Texas. Gives us a shot. He flies out of Houston. Tommy Herr will lead it off against Mike Caldwell.
Caldwell finished the season in a cold spell. And getting that sinker up a little bit. He actually throws 3 different kinds of sinkers, one slower than the other. In fact, one will look to you to be almost like a screwball. A hard slider, takes something off, and he calls it a slurve. Oddly enough, Joe, he's a sinker ball pitcher who this year anyway has done well on artificial surface. ERA below 3 on the turf, and was 3 wins and 1 loss. It has been a struggle for him through September.
Well, these Cardinals will put the ball in play. Tommy Herr. Herr's a big guy for his second baseman, 6-footer, 175 pounds, born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Hits the first pitch, and Robin Yount has a big hop, easy throw, and there's 1 away. And we'll pause briefly for our station identification. This is the NBC television network.
Second for the Cardinals, number 27.
With Tony Kubek, Dick Enberg, and Tom Seaver here in St. Louis, where the Brewers have jumped out to a 2-0 lead here in the top half of the first inning as Lonnie Smith steps into the batter's box. 307 average. Ball 1.
Whitey Herzog, most of this season against left-handers, has put Lonnie Smith in the second spot. The one time when Hendrick was hurt, he hit him 5th against left-handers.
That's a foul ball.
Joe, I don't really think, as we look at Molitor, who will be in, even with third base back, quite a bit on this running team the Cardinals have. I don't think the turf in the infield is going to affect the Brewers that much. But I kind of agree with Tom Seaver that in the outfield with those gaps, they do not have the running speed out there, especially with a slightly crippled Gorman Thomas in center. So they may not be able to cut those alleys down. It's the point that Tom Seaver alluded to with Dick Enberg in the pregame show.
Bouncing ball. In time. Nice play.
He's made a lot of errors this year. 32.
Married for the Redbirds, number
I remember over the past 4 or 5 years, Paul Molitor's tried him at 4 different positions. He battles this and handcuffs him, picking up spin off the turf.
He does one thing, though, Tony. He stayed in front of it. You may need a chest protector playing 162 games, but he didn't give it the old how do you do. Hernandez in the batter's box. Hernandez ended the season hitting .299. It's outside, ball 1.
This is the air that may have set up a couple of those runs the Brewers got.
One ball and 1 strike to count. 2 outs. Strikes.
Joe, I think before this World Series is over, there will be a lot made about the throwing arms of the two catchers, Porter and Simmons. Some say they are below average throwers. I think you can tell everybody there's a little bit more to catching than just throwing out base stealers. I think they both set up hitters very well. I'm especially impressed with Simmons. I think of Carlton Fisk and Dempsey, the American League. I think Simmons handles the pitching staff as well as anybody. Moving the ball around, mixing up pitches, keeping a pitcher in his rhythm. And sometimes that is more important than having that gun and throwing guys out.
Easiest way to catch is not to have runners on, and by setting them up. They're pretty good babysitters back there. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Off the handle, bouncing ball. Easy out. 1, 2, 3. 4-3 if you're scoring. So Caldwell's 3 ground balls, easy inning. We complete 1 inning of play here. It's Milwaukee 2, Cardinals nothing. Milwaukee 2, Cardinals nothing. Top of the 2nd. Jim Gantner leads it off. Bob Forsch threw 39 pitches in that first inning as opposed to Caldwell's 10. That's the kind of a thing that starts to send messages to the pitching coach and to the manager. Gantner hit .295 with 4 home runs, 43 runs batted in, takes it inside, and it's ball 1. Fastball misses. 2 balls and no strikes. Gantner, 5'11", 175, born in Eden, Wisconsin, lives in Hales Corners, Wisconsin. Fly ball, center field. Green taking charge, makes the play.
David Green, formerly the property of the Brewers. This young man has exceptional talent. If you get a chance, you'll see a tremendous throwing arm. He might be just a shade slower than Willie McGee, who is just out of sight running speed. That's the man that Whitey Herzog wanted when he made the trade with the Brewers.
Here is Paul Molitor, who bounced out to the second baseman his first time up. Hits the first pitch in a hole. Watch out, he's missed. Safe.
I think it's going to be interesting, Joe, as this series goes on. As fast as some of these Brewers are, we just saw Molitor. If Ozzie Smith continues to play as deeply as he did. Now, this is really a routinely hit ground ball. Not hit too hard or too soft, but he had to go a long way to his right. Does not have an outstanding arm, but you can see the quickness in getting that ball off. And Molitor with his speed beats it out.
He really is an acrobat, the way he's able to get down and bounce back to his feet and still get something on the ball, but not the traditional play where you go into the hole, dig in, brace yourself, and get the good gun to first, and he came up short.
Here is Robin Yount now. First pitch is low, and it's ball 1. Yount singled his first time up and scored, and I'll tell you, if he keeps that ball down, Yount is liable to drill one into that gap in right center field. Here's as good a breaking ball hitter as there is in baseball. Molitor at first.
Many teams try and bust Robin up and in on the hands. He's become more disciplined over the last few years. He doesn't go after that pitch as often like that. He shattered his back.
There's a base hit, and Molitor will stop at second base as Yount hit one off the handle Base hit. He now has 2 hits, and Milwaukee has the merry-go-round going again with only 1 out. And the middle of the lineup coming up, Cecil Cooper.
Yeah, they're picking up right where they left off against the Angels. Remember Charlie Moore's blue pit over the pitcher's head that set up the go-ahead inning? Well, if they have 4 hits thus far, and all 4 have had eyes. They found all the gaps so far, and you've got to be good, but you've got to be fortunate too.
I think Force made the pitch, Dick, that he wanted to make. Up and in. He got him in the ball in his kitchen, shattered the bat. You talked about Robin's strength a while ago. Just muscled it out to center.
1 out, and Cecil Cooper, who walked and scored his first time up as a batter. Fastball misses. Ball 1.
This is a time when you're a pitcher that you worry about somebody really getting into one.
Cardinal bullpen jumps into action as Force is having his problems. Foul out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Left-hander is Jim Cott, and Lottie is the right-hander. Amazing Jim Cott.
This Brewer Ball Club, Joe, has been through so much over the last week. Winning that 162nd game of the season to beat Baltimore. They've lost 3 in a row. Coming back, 2 down to California.
Up fly, they're calling infield fly as Ozzie Smith makes the play. So there are 2 away. Big out by Bob Force.
In fact, this is probably the loosest the Brewer team has been mentally, I think, for about a week and a half. They've been a lot of pressure because of Fingers being down in September. Lost a bunch of games, 8th, 9th, 10th inning. September without Fingers.
The Brewers are leading right now 2-0. And there are 2 outs here in the top of the second, and Simmons, who was called out on strikes his first time up, is the batter. Fastball is high, ball 1. On its second base is Paul Molitor. At first base, Robin Yount. Good speed on the bases with 2 outs. Yount will get a couple extra steps with the crack of the bat. High pop fly. And the second baseman, Tommy Harris, says, "I'll take it." He does. So Force gets out of it. Milwaukee does not score. We go into the bottom of the second. Milwaukee 2, Cardinals nothing. Runs, 4 hits, no errors for Milwaukee. And the Cardinals in the second looking for the first base hit as they went down in order. 1, 2, 3, and 3 ground balls.
Those 3 ground balls early, indication that Caldwell has the sinker down low at the knees. It's been his problem. One of the pitching coaches for the Brewers, Pat Dobson, was saying, when you get a couple hits off, he does not pitch within himself. He's starting to throw the ball a little bit harder, coming upstairs, and his fastball is straightening it out.
There's a strike. George Henrik. Henrik, 19 home runs, 104 runs batted in, hit 282. 1 ball, 1 strike. George Henrik probably wears his pants lower than anybody in baseball. And I asked him about that. If there was a reason. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He said when I was with Oakland, they used to send down the pants from the big club and they used to fall down. So now I just make them where they're downer to begin with, and that makes a lot of sense.
Dick Wagner would love that, wouldn't he? In Cincinnati. Wow.
Outside, 2-2. In the batter's box, you had to be comfortable. He's not up there for a portrait. He's up there to hit. And he's not going to make any magazines as a fashion play, but he might get the MVP if he gets enough hits. Straight away center field, and Gorman Thomas has plenty of room, and there's 1 out.
He was saying that knee that he injured in a kind of a slide collision at home plate league championship series. He bruised it against the shin guard of Bob Boone. He said it's 100% better. He said on a scale of 10, I'm probably a 7 now. It was about a 4 a couple days ago. So the off day helped him.
Weren't you surprised, Tony, that Harvey Keene didn't go with Marshall Edwards defensively in center field with that big area to cover, and then Gorman Thomas as the DH?
Gorman Thomas would have no part of the DH, he said. He said, when I'm 40, I might think about it. He said, I want to play.
So it's strike one on Gene Tennis. Tennis is the DH. Whitey Herzog, of course, had the DH when he was over at Kansas City, so it's nothing new to him. It's new to National League fans here in St. Louis. Tennis way out in front, and it's a quick 2-strike count on him. There he is, Whitey Herzog, nearby New Athens, Illinois.
It's the kind of series that Whitey Herzog, although he had good advance scouts, probably didn't need him. He is very familiar with the Brewers hitters, how to pitch them, how to defense them.
Tennis takes it outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tennis, 6-footer, 190. We look at Harvey Keene, born in Russellton, Pennsylvania, now lives in Poway, California. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. 2-0, Milwaukee leading. Mike Caldwell.
Tennis, a very disciplined hitter. He can get a lot of bases on balls.
Pops it up, and Cecil Cooper says he's going to take it. And he does. 2 outs.
Joe, they've talked about this spacious ballpark. And Whitey Herzog, aside from the dimensions that we showed you earlier, Whitey Herzog was saying he thinks the ball does not carry well here because it is built down beneath street level. And I don't know what sense that makes, whether it's dampness or whatever else. In the daytime, it'll carry better. A lot of home runs, or people who think they're home runs, lose them to center and toward the power alleys in right and left center. He said it is a harder ballpark to hit home runs in than Kansas City. Kansas City's tough to hit them in.
But the gap, it's a good gapper ballpark, doubles and triples ballpark, as Darrell Porter takes the first pitch outside, ball 1. Porter, almost an identical stance to Cecil Cooper. He kind of peers and rocks and gets on his toes. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 outs, 2-0, Milwaukee leading, bottom of the 2nd. Porter, 12 home runs, 48 runs batted in, hit .231 on the year. He was hot during the championship series, voted the most valuable player. Well hit, right center field. Charlie Moore can't get it. Porter's got extra bases. Running it down is Gorman Thomas. Porter has a double.
So after an off season, he has stayed hot as he was during the championship series. Charlie Moore got the big bounce. Fitz slap it down. If that ball goes by him, I don't know if Gorman Thomas could have been there. It might have been a triple. So there may be the first example of not exactly lack of speed, but not as much speed as the Cardinals evidence try this.
So with 2 outs, here is David Green. Finished the year at 283. Takes it low, ball 1. Two nothing. Milwaukee leading the Cardinals.
Now, George Hendrick may not have caught that ball either, but he's fast enough. He might have played it on a shorter hop and limited the play to a single. That's the difference. As Tom Seaver pointed out, outs and singles can become doubles and triples.
Fastball misses. 2 balls and no strikes. Darrell Porter on at second base with the first Cardinal hit.
Rural infield with 2 outs, 1 thought in mind. At least knock the ball down. Keep that run from scoring. Best throwing arm is Porter at second, and the outfield belongs to Moore. Gorman Thomas is at a sore shoulder, and Ogilvy's arm a little bit above average.
2 balls and 1 strike the count. Caldwell retired the first 5, and Porter is just doubled. Line drive right at Cooper. Ball was well hit, but Cecil Cooper had him played perfectly. So at the end of 2 innings, the score here, it's the Milwaukee Brewers 2, the Cardinals nothing. And due up, Ogilvy, Thomas, and Howell. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Was Gillette foamy?
We move into the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Milwaukee 2, the Cardinals nothing. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek, Dick Enberg, and Tom Seaver here in St. Louis. Looks like Forsch is settling down. Caldwell's been in command. And now for the play-by-play, here is Dick Enberg.
All right, Joe. Ken Oberkfell, Ozzie Smith, and Tommy Herr for the Cardinals in the 3rd inning. Caldwell's allowed 1 base hit. Porter's line drive to right that skipped off right fielder Charlie Moore for a double. Oberkfell at 289. Part of that all left-handed hitting. St. Louis infield against a right-hander. 2 of them, of course, are switch hitters. Some feel that left-handed pitching is the way to work on that Cardinal order. They're not quite as effective, those switch hitters from the right side.
And of course, you negate some of that running speed if the left-hander's got a decent move to first base, if they should get on.
1-1. And Caldwell, in contrast to Forsch, working very quickly. They're both the same kind of pitcher. They don't strike out many. When they're on, they don't walk many. They have to keep the ball down. 2-0. Milwaukee leads, last of the 3rd. To Hopper to Gantner, and there's 1 away. The coaches for the Cardinals,
Number 1,
Hal Lanier, whose father Max, a pitcher for St. Louis, and over at third is Chuck Hiller, number 4. 20 years ago in the World Series, Chuck Hiller hit the first National League Grand Slam. During the year, he had 4 home runs all season. But against Marshall Bridges of the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, he said he swung and had his biggest thrill. Sometimes it is from unexpected sources that the heroes are derived in these series. And so it may well be. St. Louis and Milwaukee, someone buried in the lineup, expected to do something perhaps with the gloves, will come up and get you the big hit. Ozzie Smith, 248. Switch hitter. Tough play for Gantner. He gets him.
So Jimmy Gantner shows Ozzie Smith a little acrobatics of his own.
Number 28.
He has had knee surgery, Gantner has. He's not as mobile as he once was, Dick, but he is so tough on the double play. He gets off more throws with guys hanging all over him, I think, than any second baseman in baseball.
You like the Brewers double play combination?
I really do. They led the league in double plays in the American League. They may not be quite as good as Frank White and UL Washington when UL's healthy with Kansas City. But I think those two was Kansas City 1-2-3 defensively.
Herr looping one to the shortstop, and Robin Yount squeezes it. Another easy inning for Mike Caldwell. After 3, it's 2-0.
Robin Yount, Don Sutton said he never saw so much ability since he saw Clemente. And here's a Fall Classic flashback.
As always, the Pirates' leader was Roberto Clemente. Professionally phenomenal, personally peerless, a special person who received a special and overwhelming selection to baseball's Hall of Fame.
Busch Stadium packed, 53,000 fans. Top of the 4th inning. Milwaukee at bat, leading 2-0. Charlie Moore, one of the stars of the playoff series, in fact the only Brewer against the Angels to hit safely in all 5 games. Hit .301 since late August, is one of the spurs for the Brewers as they battled off Baltimore to win the American League East. Rips it fair. Smith able to cut off the carom, and Moore with a stand-up double.
Like a hanging breaking ball, Dick. Forrest, they've had him on the ropes a couple of times. In the first inning, Forrest threw 39 pitches. Worked it down to 11 in the second. Third inning, threw just 8. We've got 3 ground balls. A hanging curveball. Oberkfell playing in because Charlie Moore will drop a bunt on occasion. Some tricky corners here you may have seen in the League Championship Series. UL Washington, the ball hit the wall and right and just deadened. Some lively spots. You've got to be very cautious out there.
And in fact, it appeared Lonnie Smith just did get to it. It was taking a bounce that wanted to hug that wall and roll into left center. So a leadoff double by Moore brings up the number 9 hitter in the lineup for Milwaukee, Gantner. Be trying to pull it, move that man to third. Well, he's going to pull it with the bunt. Does it nicely. Hernandez at the bag for the out. A sacrifice to Gantner. And the Brewers try to pick up the third run. Have Moore at third with one away.
I doubt if it was a sign by Harvey Keene. He lets these guys play. Doesn't give a whole lot of tricky signs nor make a lot of moves. So Gantner took it upon himself, thinking he might not be able to pull full force, and he dragged the ball. He did the job.
Molitor grounded to second and was safe on an infield hit to deep shortstop. There'll be a time break as they remove a sign that has been draped over the right center field fence. One of the ushers out to take that away.
It'll be interesting here to see if Molitor jumps on that first pitch, which is what he did the last time up when he got the base hit.
Infield will shorten up. Oberkfell at third, Smith at short, Herr at second, Hernandez at first, trying to cut off the run at the plate. The infield tight. Hitter's delight. Brewers now with 5 base hits, leading 2-0, 1 away, and Moore at third. Ball 2. Robin Yount is on deck.
Molitor, a good fastball hitter. You almost have to, you're hitting your guessing breaking ball.
That's what he got. Molitor, a model of consistency. He finished the year hitting .302. Against left-handers, he hit .302, and against right-handers, .302. He's not fussy. Broken bat shattered into center field, and a base hit. Moore scores. He's going for 2. He is out.
And Dick, you just saw, you alluded to the point about the hitter's delight on the ground ball, but you can also see what happens on the little looper. Ozzie Smith, the shortstop, if he's playing his normal position, he'd stand up. He's standing there waiting. So the bat is shattered. Again, probably the type of pitch that Force wanted to make. Get inside. Smith alertly throws out the diving Molitor. You can see some aggressive base running. Molitor at one time was getting hurt so darn much diving, they tried to stop him from diving into base. He used to dive head first in the home plate.
Here's Yount with 2 out. Base is empty. Milwaukee has built its lead to 3-0. The Brewers, who arrived at the World Series in a much different route than the St. Louis Cardinals. The Brewers fought to the final day before knocking out Baltimore, fought to the final game of the playoffs before beating the California Angels. The Cardinals were the first to clinch their division. And they swept Atlanta 3-0. Yount thrown out by Oberkfell. Milwaukee settles for a run on a brace of hits, no one left. Middle of the 4th, it's 3-0 Brewers. Coming up for the Cardinals in the home half of the 4th, Lonnie Smith, Keith Hernandez, and George Hendrick. Heavy end of the order for the Birds. St. Louis Cardinals nest Busch Stadium. Milwaukee leading 3-0. Here's Molitor, and watch how that bat explodes.
I think he hit a pitch out of the strike zone, too. That was probably up too high.
Boy, Joe Garagiola, what do you say to your pitcher after you come back to the dugout, you make a pitch like that, and it costs you a run?
You almost want to go to the trainer and see if he's got any amnesia pills and let him forget about it, because as we look at Raleigh Fingers, because he made a good pitch and he just happened to hit it, there's nothing you can do but sit and moan.
Raleigh Fingers, the frustration, he's missed some 5 weeks of the season, a sore arm, elbow, apparently much more serious than at first believed, and the guess is that he probably won't pitch in the series as much as he wants to. While St. Louis has its ace reliever, Bruce Sutter, ready. Check swing by Smith, and it's foul to the right. Lonnie Smith, who led the Cardinals in hitting this year, coming over from Philadelphia, finished at .307. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Dick, they talk about 2 men on this Cardinal ball club, Hendricks and Lonnie Smith. We're going to get some MVP votes, and I really think that Lonnie Smith, because he's not a power hitter, has gone somewhat overlooked. He really is the key to this offense, I think.
And he's the first man since Lou Brock to steal 50 or more bases. Got a ways to go to catch. the great Cardinal outfielder and base stealing. But he's brought a lot of speed to this club. Fouled away 2-2. He was involved in that three-corner swap with Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Cleveland. The Cardinals gave up Martinez and Sorensen, a couple of pitchers in the deal to get Smith, part of the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies championship. 3-2. And with the big guns to follow, Hernandez and Hendrick in tennis, fans want Smith to get on there. Denied as Caldwell has his first strikeout.
A little extra on the fastball there. Caldwell, generally speaking, down low around the knees with that sinker and breaking stuff.
Hernandez from San Francisco. The 79 Co. most valuable player in the National League, sharing that honor with the now retired Willie Stargell. Rolls it to Gantner. Another easy out for Caldwell. 2 gone in the Cardinal fourth.
Number 25, right fielder
Terrell Norman Herzog. He's been associated with several winning Major League teams. The New York Mets helped to build those miracle Mets of 1969 in their farm system. Served as a skipper briefly in Texas, coach in California, built the Kansas City Royals club, and boy, what trades he made here in St. Louis. He didn't make just a cosmetic change. He came in and said, I want to trade, but I want to go big. Not just a couple of fringe players. Let's go head on head. 3 good ones for your best 3. Hendrick stabbed by the first baseman Cooper, and it's another 1-2-3 inning as Caldwell, 3 out of 4 innings, has mowed down St. Louis in order. We go to the 5th inning at Busch Stadium. 3-0 Milwaukee.
6 ground ball outs that Caldwell has got now. Hit very hard. That'll show you the range of a Cecil Cooper, who has also won a Gold Glove. And look at Caldwell get over.
Well, Caldwell in a breeze. Sometimes when players have a spare moment, well, they do find special ways to relax. Right back after these messages from your local station. To the banks of the old Mississippi. Busch Stadium, St. Louis, completed in 1966, the home of the Cardinals. They trail Milwaukee 3-0, top of the 5th. Cooper leads it off, loops it to left. Lonnie Smith is there. Twice that Forsch has induced Cooper to hit the ball in the air to the opposite field. Ted Simmons, the former Cardinal, he was involved in that major deal engineered between these 2 teams after the 1980 season. Simmons, Raleigh Fingers, and Pete Vukovich, who have all succeeded in Milwaukee, came over from St. Louis, and the Cardinals got Sixto Lizcano, Larry Sorensen, Dave LaPointe, and David Green. A good trade for both sides.
At one time, Whitey Herzog found himself with Terry Kennedy, now in San Diego, Porter and Simmons, 3 good catchers, and he had Fingers and Suter at the same time. Some controversial moves that he made.
Hit well to right. If it's fair, it's gone. It hooks foul.
Tell you, Ted Simmons, since about the middle of June, and he went into a little bit of a crouch. We struggled last year, as you know. He went into that crouch. He's been smoking the ball pretty good. Driven in a lot of runs since the middle of June. Got out in front. Kind of pitcher doesn't mind making. Get the ball inside off the plate and say, go ahead, whale away.
This one's fair, and he will touch them all. Against his former battery mate. How sweet that one must have felt.
Number 24.
And every run that these Brewers add Puts this guy in a little pressure, Whitey Herzog, where it takes away a little bit of his running game.
Forsch only gave up 16 home runs during the season. And here's the swing that touched it off. He really stayed with it, and he knew it was gone.
1 out. It's now 4-0 Milwaukee. Ogilvie fouls it off to the left.
I think that triggers some more action in Whitey Herzog's bullpen.
Southpaw Jim Cott loosening up for the second time.
This Milwaukee club, I tell you, they come out swinging. You can tell in batting practice the bats are moving in the rack and nobody's even near them.
They were rattling all right.
They rattle.
The Brewers led the major leagues in home runs this year with 216. Cardinals, interestingly, were last with 67, so quite a difference. Hit sharply to her. Hernandez 2 away. Ogilvie is 0 for 3. Ted Simmons from Detroit, Michigan. In this different era, Simmons recently, during the offseason, played house husband so that his wife, Mary Ann, could go back to the University of Michigan, finish her degree work. He's a most interesting character. He's an art critic. He collects antiques.
He's on the trustees here at the Art Museum. How many catchers can make that statement?
They overlooked you, I remember. Gorman Thomas.
I remember a field trip we took once, so. A lot of Italian guys in the Art Museum. Don't look at me like that, Tony.
Field trip?
Sure, at school. And you never took one?
Just take Yogi along with you, I suppose. They've now, Dick, put the shift on Gorman Thomas. Ozzie Smith is well over in the hole. The team is down by 4. Smith in the hole, and Herz gone to the left field side of second base. What a gap in almost dead center field.
Daring him to hit it to center or right center. He fouls it away.
He tried to. He tried to go the opposite way. Something that Bob Horner finally did when they put the shift on in the championship series against this ball club.
He almost could check his swing and roll one through that right side.
In the 46 World Series, the great Ted Williams beat it with a bunt.
Well, you remember 46 when Joe Garagiola and Del Rice, the hitting for the St. Louis Cardinals. There he did just check his swing. Hit it to the one man that was there.
So the Cardinals come in trailing 4-0, and it's a game of moods. A disgusted Bob Forsch, a happy Simmons as he crosses the plate, and they welcome him in the dugout as they lead 4-0, the Brewers.
Happy Mary Ann Simmons. This year, Mary Ann, Ted's wife, came out with a publication. Magazine comes out 4 times yearly. Magazine is about women. As Teddy said, she knows a lot about baseball wives and women, and it's kind of centered in that direction. She went back to school to get her degree while Teddy played husband and wife at home for a while, Dick.
Most interesting relationship, and obviously a successful one. Both supported of the other in their adult roles. Gene Tennis, Darrell Porter, David Green for the Cardinals last of the 5th inning. It's 3-0 Milwaukee. Make it 4-0 Milwaukee on the home run by Ted Simmons in the top half of this inning. Gene Tennis, his place has been written in World Series history. 1972, remember? Against the Reds, he hit a homer his first 2 times up in that World Series. No one's ever done that before or since. A nubber, and Caldwell gets him. Now, Mike Caldwell, breezing along here in the 5th inning, has allowed only 1 hit. That was Darrell Porter's double that skipped in front of Charlie Moore back in the 2nd inning.
Dick, that's 7 ground ball outs that I've counted, so he's got that ball pretty down low in the strike zone.
I thought that Richie Zisk and Rene Latchman, the Seattle manager, when they talked about guys with high speeds, 94, 95, he said they give you trouble, but those guys under 80 will give it to you. And they mentioned Caldwell because he changes speed so well.
Porter owns the only St. Louis hit.
See, Darrell looks like he's taken Cecil Cooper's stance and copied it, and Cecil Cooper copied it from Rod Carew.
Cooper, he'll play it to the pitcher Caldwell, and another ground ball out. And that is 9 consecutive hitters retired by Caldwell. David Green. Earlier, when we showed you the tribute flashback 1971 series to Roberto Clemente, Roberto, and the irony of our lives, that Clemente was on his way to Nicaragua, support of the people who had suffered through a national tragedy when his plane crashed. And here is a Nicaraguan, David Green, who is compared to Roberto Clemente, his style, the way he swings the bat, the way he runs, the way he throws. He's only 21. They consider him as a great potential as a possible superstar.
Whitey brought him along slowly early in the season, playing him against left-handed pitchers. Then he hurt himself, and that's when McGee came up and just started tearing the league apart for a while.
A real measure, is it not, Tony, of Herzog's ability to spot good young talent, that he was acquired a Green and McGee in trades when no one really knew about them.
You know, Whitey was in charge of player personnel with the Mets, and he helped develop a lot of their young kids years back. There's a lot of experience in that area.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Green. He lined out to first baseman Cooper, his only at bat.
You can go with a lot of scouting reports, but when you put Green, McGee, and Lonnie Smith in that outfield, and Lonnie Smith is the slowest, that really tells you a lot.
And that's what Whitey's tried to do, build this team around speed, line drive hitters.
I just see where Simmons set up. He set up about 2 feet outside, and Caldwell hit it. Forsch has had his feet on the ground a little bit in this ball game. It's hard for this Cardinal team to come back. They're scrappy, but with 4 runs down, you're taking away that running game.
1 hopper to the third baseman, Molitor. And again, Caldwell retires St. Louis in order. That's 10 in a row for the left-hander of the Milwaukee Brewers. We go to the 6th inning. 4-0 Milwaukee. It'll be Roy Howell, Charlie Moore, Jim Gantner, the bottom 3 in Harvey Keene's order. Rich St. Louis, Missouri. Cardinals in their 13th World Series, 8-4 in the previous 12. It's always been a fantastic baseball area. And the names, of course, you could rattle those off for the next 2 or 3 innings. Roy Howell from Lompoc, Michigan, or California rather, and he rolls it right to Hernandez for the first out in the 6th inning. So Howell is 0 for 2. Was hit by a pitch back in the 1st inning. Bob Forsch, whose brother Ken didn't pitch in the playoffs against Milwaukee, but there was thoughts at a time that there might be a matchup against the Forsch boys, Ken and Bob, both from Sacramento, California. Charlie Moore fouled out and ripped a double to left field. Scored on a looping single by Molitor back in the 4th inning.
Another one of the Brewers who uses the entire field to hit, and he'll drop a bunt on you if he catches you back at third base.
It's interesting, isn't it, Joe, that in this last couple of years, 2 men in the American League, Brian Downing with the Angels and Charlie Moore, the Brewers, have moved from behind the plate, catchers into the outfield, and have succeeded.
And their arms seem to improve. I mean, Moore is a better thrower now than he's ever been.
Well, it's bat number 4 that just got shattered by Forsch. As Moore goes back, Charlie Moore made some outstanding throws against Baltimore, and of course against California. Getting Reggie at third.
He made the big throw. Got Reggie.
Let's pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. With Joe Garagiola, Tony Kubek, Tom Seaver, Bob Costas. This is Dick Enberg, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. The Milwaukee Brewers, the underdogs in this series, lead 4-0 in the 6th inning. Charlie Moore unable to leg out that ground ball to the shortstop Ozzie Smith, who turns it into a fine defensive play. Makes him look easy. 2 gone in the 6th inning.
I don't know if Ozzie is underestimating the speed of some of those Brewers, but that was a bang-bang play right there. Again, second time in this ball game. He is so under control and has a tremendous balance, though. That center of gravity is always properly, never loses balance. I guess that's where his agility comes from.
Gantner rips it to right. Hendrick will play it on a hop. So Gantner, his first hit. The Brewers have 8 in the game. And with 2 away, brings up the leadoff man, Paul Molitor, the only man in the contest with a pair of hits. Just to quickly recap the scoring in case you're joining us late. Milwaukee scored twice in the first inning, 2 unearned runs, a one-out single by Yount, a walk to Cooper. Ogilvy's hard ground ball to Hernandez went through the St. Louis first baseman for an error. Thomas drove in the second run with an infield hit to short. Then in the fourth inning, a double by Moore and a single by Molitor. A broken bat single made it 3-0, and a solo home run by Ted Simmons, the former Cardinal, in the fifth inning, made it 4-0 off Bob Forge. Meanwhile, Mike Caldwell, the left-handed starter of the Milwaukee Brewers, who was knocked out early in the opening game of the playoffs against the Angels as Tommy John beat Milwaukee 8-3, has been mowing down St. Louis, allowing only 1 hit through 5 innings.
You can see Force when he gets ready from the stretch, as Joe mentioned earlier, bending that right knee. There are a lot of base stealers will look at that right knee. As soon as it cracks, they think he's coming over or going home, and he has eliminated that extra move.
Another base hit. Paul Molitor is 3 for 4. Gantner stops at second. That's 9 Milwaukee hits, and the fans here at Busch Stadium are becoming restless.
Number 19, shortstop Robin Yount.
Molitor, who like Yount played just 64 games in the minor leagues. You can see how Yount led the league in base hits with 210. Molitor on first led the league in runs scored. Molitor fortunately had the opportunity to play at the University of Minnesota for the late Dick Siebert, a former major leaguer, who really polished his skills. Look out, pickoff.
Ozzie Smith slipping in, but Gantner chased back by his third base coach Harry Warner. 2 outs, 2 on. Gantner at second, Molitor at first, and Robin Yount, the leading, if not the leading candidate for the American League Most Valuable Player Award at the plate. He's 2 for 3 tonight.
Interestingly enough, Dick, in center field, Green is shading Yount a little bit toward left field. Many teams in the American League, in fact, I think most, play their center fielder shading him toward right center field, because he does hit a lot of balls in the gap in right center. Of course, it may be determined by how Force is going to pitch him. If he's going to try and jam him up and in.
He's got to. If he's going to play him that way, you got to play him that way. You better pitch him that way.
That's not a bad pitch for him to hit. If you don't get a way in, he can hit that ball out to the right center field, inside out, and get the barrel out.
A ball and 2 strikes, and the veteran 43-year-old Jim Cott, a major league pitcher for 24 seasons, a record, tuning up, and he looks as good now as he did when he pitched in the '65 series with the Minnesota Twins. 1-2.
You saw in that sequence that Porter wanted that ball inside. I think, Tony, if he's going to hit out there, they're either going to try to make him hit that ball that's out away from him. He's trying to jam him, thinking he's going to go that way. Porter wanted it inside, and he missed it completely with that last pitch.
Loop to right, that could be trouble. Fair ball. Gantner scores. Molitor heading for the plate, and it's 6-0 Milwaukee on a bloop double by Robin Yount.
And that may have been another broken bat. It did not sound good. You know, you may think that he's making good pitches up and in, but I don't think unless he's got a great fastball on a given day, Force can pitch high. He's got to stay down. Comes Hernandez in pursuit. George Hendrick, he was playing him over toward right center field. And Molitor, scoring from first, just showed you the kind of speed he has.
And this crowd now announced officially at 53,723. Partisan Cardinal fans are desperately quiet as a pitching change. Cott comes in. A break in the action. Top of the 6th inning. It's Milwaukee 6, St. Louis nothing.
In 1935, Easterners came by the bucket.
Facing Jim Cott from Holland, Michigan. 62 games. He still throws strikes. Had a couple of saves. 5 wins. One of the oldest to ever pitch in a World Series game. If you're curious, 46-year-old pitcher John Quinn worked for Philadelphia in 1930 in a series. Cott now is the second oldest to ever play in a World Series at 43. Of course, he's pitched for 24 years, a major league record. Cecil Cooper, the first man he faces, out at second with a 2-run double.
Dick, I think aside from keeping that body in great condition, there are the players that Dick was just telling you about. Aside from the great physical condition Cott is in, I think he has been one pitcher who has adjusted different phases of his career. And you can see right there by coming down from the side, an adjustment he made at the suggestion of Hump Kittle and Whitey Herzog in the spring of the year. Dropped down a little bit. He throws a little bit harder. Used to be 3/4 when he first came up. Then he went to that speedy delivery with the White Sox. Another comeback in his career under Johnny Sain.
Coming from the side and then pinning that ball on the outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's 6-0 Milwaukee. 6 runs, 10 hits for the Brewers. No runs, 1 hit for St. Louis. Well, Cott, indeed, 43 going on 25. He strikes out Cecil Cooper, but the Brewers get 2 runs, 3 hits, leave a man, middle of the 6th. Milwaukee, a half dozen. St. Louis, nothing. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. This crowd of 53,723 silenced as Harvey's wallbangers, they call them, the Milwaukee Brewers of Harvey Keene. And the left-hander Mike Caldwell, who cleverly has worked to the St. Louis batting order, allowing only 1 hit, and leads 6-0 in the last of the 6th.
He accomplished another thing that he wanted to do in this ballgame, and that is not walk any Cardinals.
Oberkfell, Smith, and Herr in the 6th. And that is the 10th straight batter that Caldwell has faced and thrown the first pitch in the strike zone. And he's gone 13 out of the last 17. First pitch in there. Up the middle, Gantner gets him by a step. Another ground ball out for Caldwell, and Gantner's been a busy man.
That's number 10, ground ball out. In fact, Caldwell had 3 ground outs in the first inning, 3 ground outs in the 5th, and he's got the sinker down at the knees.
Usually in a spot like this, I'm sure Simmons will holler to him, be alive for the bunt. Sometimes a guy like Ozzie Smith will try to beat out the bunt to get the thing started. They need somebody to start the fire.
They're looking for the bunt at the corners, but Molitor on the line at third, and Cooper just a step off the line at first base. Smith handles the bat very well. Loop to center. Thomas is there, and there's 2 away.
That's one of the things I asked the advanced scouts, Steve Fondy and Nelson Burbrink from the Brewers. They scouted the Cardinals. If on this turf, in this big ballpark, the outfield would play deeper to cut off the gap, and they say that no, they recommended not to play deeper because they do not have much power in this lineup, and you can catch a lot of those loopers like that. So they're not moving back. I don't think they're afraid of the turf in the big outfield.
Caldwell now has retired 12 straight batters. And hits the corner again. First pitch in the strike zone.
I tell you, when you stay ahead of that hitter, what a difference it makes.
Herr has grounded to short and popped to short. 2 out, last of the 6th. 6-0 Milwaukee. 1-1. Lee Wire behind the plate in his 2nd World Series. And it's 1-2. Caldwell makes home in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pitched 6 years in the National League. There's another National League veteran who's migrated to the American side, Don Sutton. Won the final game against Baltimore and won that key 3rd game against the Angels when Milwaukee returned from Anaheim. Sal Bando with him. Sal Bando and Don Sutton both have used the microphone rather neatly as well here on NBC.
I would think that in the future that Sal Bando would be a managerial candidate for the Brewers, depending upon whether Harvey Keene will come back or not, or if he wants to come back.
Full count now to Tommy Herr. Caldwell has not walked a man.
Well, Harvey's got the right idea, though, and he said he'd call him an interim manager. He said, hey, any manager takes the job as an interim manager.
He's right on there, isn't he?
Dead on center.
As soon as you sign the contract to be hired, you know someday you're going to be fired. At least that's the pattern. And Herr draws a walk.
That was only the second batter he'd been 3-on-2 on in this ball game. And now he's giving up the first one.
And thus ends the 12 straight batters retired by Caldwell.
You can see what Hal Lanier is doing, a jammed finger by Herr. What he is doing is they put the glove on and then they tape the jammed finger to the one next to it. It acts as a splint. You've probably seen basketball players do it more frequently than a baseball player. Give it support.
Lonnie Smith struck out his last time up. Looked like he turned that one over a bit.
Close to a screwball, and when he takes something off that pitch, Dick, it looks even more like a screwball. Cal McClish, one of the pitching coaches, was telling us before the ball game, you'll throw 3 different speeds on that sinker.
1 ball, 1 strike. Your point was well taken, Tony Kubek, earlier, that the one thing the opposition tries to do against the Cardinals in this ballpark especially, get at least a 3-run lead, take some of the running game away. So it is here in the 6th inning with Milwaukee in front 6-0. Herr, who has good ability on the bases. That's not the good gamble when you're down by 6. 1-2 the count.
Cardinal Ball Club during the regular season stole 200 bases.
Smith, the only man that Caldwell has struck out, but the left-hander has punched out Smith twice. No runs, no hits, a man left. 6 innings complete. 6-0 Milwaukee. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. The 7th inning, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. First game of the 1982 World Series, and the Milwaukee Brewers lead the Cardinals 6-0. Ted Simmons, who struck out with 2 men aboard in the first inning and popped up with 2 men on in the second, came back to club a home run over the right field wall in the 5th inning, the game's only homer. Batting right-handed for the first time, and he singles to center off Jim Cott. First hit off Cott, and Simmons is aboard. That was the right-handed swing. The left-handed swing produced this home run.
A forced fastball. Didn't sink, wasn't down enough, just below the belt. Little bit of the inside part of the plate.
Ben Ogilvie comes up. What would it do for Milwaukee, especially as the underdog, winning that first game on the road to the World Series, Joe?
It just makes you feel pretty good.
I think a lot of people thought St. Louis might do the same thing here that the Angels did to Milwaukee out in Anaheim.
Well, it's the old theory, I think, Dick. You started off in the 2 games in the road park. You want to at least go home with a split.
That first one is the big one. That's when you stop a lot of the intangibles, so to speak.
Well, there's so few players who have appeared in the World Series. It just means that 25 guys know they can win. They've got that first one tucked away.
Well, it's like the Milwaukee club. They've watched the Cardinals on television. They've heard about it. They heard the scouts, and now they see it firsthand. They say, hey, here's what we saw, here's what we did, and pretty nice.
Ogilvie to Hernandez. It's a fair ball, and Ogilvie doesn't run a double play. Ogilvie thought it was foul.
Number 20, center fielder Norman Thomas.
You'll see Keith Hernandez, what he does is he's on the corner of the bag. He removes. No, he didn't remove.
No,
he never stepped on the bag. Dick, you're
2
absolutely
guys
right.
made
He
the
never
wrong
did.
play, actually, Tony. 2 guys made the wrong play. Hernandez could have stepped, as Ogilvie hits the ball, Hernandez could have stepped on the bag and got the tag, but he didn't do that.
No,
and then when Ogilvie
Haller is signaling it is a fair ball, and I saw the right hand up, and I said, hey, he's calling out because he's removed the force, but he had. I wonder if that's what fooled Ogilvie like it fooled me. If he thought right hand is out, he is saying he's out at first base, Ogilvie, because the force is removed.
Yeah, but he went to umpire instead of base runner, and it cost him.
I could see how he could get fooled on it, though.
Yeah, I can too. But you tell that to some managers and say, hey, you're not supposed to think, you're supposed to run.
And for the fans watching, it's not where the player is that fields the ball, it is where the ball is. Hernandez was in foul territory, but the ball was still over the bag and ruled fair. And Ogilvie, watching the fielder, was hoping at foul, winds up with a 3-6-3 double play. Thomas taking all away, and on 4 pitches he walks.
We'll show you Ben Ogilvie one more time as he chops this ball down. Breaking ball from Cott. He's saying, yeah, it's foul. Nope, it isn't foul. Sorry, 3-6-3 double play. he's saying foul ball. That's exactly what you said.
Been a frustrating October for Ogilvie. He was the man in left field that had that fan reach out, take that ball right out of his glove. Bob Boone credited with a home run.
Pinch hitting for designated hitter Roy Howell.
Pinch hitter for the DH, Roy Howell. Don Money.
Money hitting for Howell.
His run production during the year was just outstanding, I think. The guy at one time was an exceptional defensive infielder, third baseman. Still holds record in the National and the American League. Look at his stats. 96 games, threw 55 RBIs and 16 home runs and just 275 efficient at-bats.
He's the dean of the Brewers. He's played in Milwaukee longer than anyone on the 25-man World Series roster. Born in Washington, D.C., and now makes his home in Vineland, New Jersey.
Not sneak too many fastballs by this guy, especially inside part of the plate, unless you come way in. Oh, look at that pitch. Down under almost.
That was one of them submarine American Legion roundhouses.
I think it's surprising. Cott, since he dropped down, they say is actually throwing the ball a little bit harder, and he can scare some left-handers off the plate with that.
Hit well to right center. Hendricks runs it down.
First time that big ballpark out in that area has come into play. He hit it a ton.
No runs, a hit, a double play, and a man left. We go to the stretch half of the 7th inning. It'll be Hernandez, Hendrick, and Gene Tennis for St. Louis. The Birds are down by 6. Embarrassed, 3-6-3. Just 90 feet between bases, and you run counterclockwise, but funny things do happen. Now Ben Ogilvie, there'll be brighter days. 7th inning, St. Louis down 6-0. We'll send Hernandez, Hendrick, and Tennis against Mike Caldwell, working on a one-hitter. And he's far enough along now that we can maybe talk about World Series one-hitters. There have been only 3 in World Series history. Jim Lonborg was the last to do it for the Red Sox against these Cardinals in '67. In '45, Claude Passeau of the Cubs against the Tigers. And of course, '47, the most famous one-hitter of all in World Series history, Bill Bevins. And Cookie Lavagetto's hit in the 9th inning spoiled the no-hitter by Bevins with 2 outs. And of course, only one no-hitter. That was the perfecto by Don Larson in '56.
They have tried to keep the ball in on the fists on Hernandez thus far today, just like that. They jammed him a couple of times. 9 ground ball outs from Caldwell.
2 balls and a strike. Tom Seaver, your expert eye watching pitcher Caldwell. Why has he been so effective tonight?
It's really pretty basic what he's doing. Getting ahead of most of every hitter. He's been to 3 balls on but 2 hitters the entire evening. And one thing that's happening here tonight, he's keeping the ball down in the strike zone, and he has the fella behind the plate in Leewire, who in the National League has the biggest strike zone of anybody in the National League. But he's doing the kinds of things that you have to do with against this Cardinal ball club, is keep the speedy runners off the base. If they're going to get on base, they're going to have to hit their way on, which is obviously something they have not done tonight.
There's Leewire, big strike zone, but pitchers, scout umpires, they know how they can work to certain arbiters. And even though he's an American League pitcher, Caldwell spent some time in the National League 6 years. Gantner has still another assist, and Caldwell, 2 outs into the 7th inning, still owns a one-hitter.
11 ground ball outs now. I think another thing, Tom, is that the defense, and of course I really think that the Cardinal defense is probably the best in baseball and handles artificial surface as well or better than anybody, but I think it's been much heralded, and they've forgotten, because the Brewers are a power team, the kind of defense that they are capable of playing. I think they've shown a little bit of that tonight.
Gene Tennis. Ball 1. Tennis celebrated his 200th career home run during the course of the 82 regular season. Finished with 7 in all. Part of that budding dynasty that Charlie Finley had built in the early 70s as the A's won 3 in a row, and so many remnants of that Oakland organization scattered around the major leagues still playing and playing in the superstar roles. Rolling fingers. Reggie Jackson.
They were all gone, weren't they? Little credit should be given to the man behind the plate. If anybody's got a book on the Cardinal hitters, it's got to be the man behind home plate, Ted Simmons, and he has kept Caldwell in a rhythm, in a groove. He's putting targets down, and Caldwell is near it most of the time.
He's kept him from overthrowing the ball, trying to throw too hard.
2-2. Ooh, there's a little change, and that's a tough one to lay off. Full count. Tennis has popped to first and grounded back to the mound. He got him. Caldwell's 3rd strikeout, and again he gets the Cardinals in order, the 5th time in 7 innings tonight. 1 hit, that's all he's allowed. A double by Darrell Porter. Mike Caldwell goes to the dugout with a 6-0 lead.
Baseball fever. Catch it. It lasts forever.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
NBC Sports proud to bring you this 79th World Series. Dick Enberg, Joe Garagiola, Tony Kubek, and Tom Seaver. Busch Stadium. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals, no runs and only 1 hit as we go to the top of the 8th inning. And back with the play, here's Joe Garagiola.
Dave LaPointe is the new pitcher. And this is one of the, as we look at the Milwaukee bench, and right now it's a 6-0 ball game. Milwaukee out in front. LaPointe is one of the young pitchers that Whitey Herzog wanted in the big trade. There's the strike.
He's one of the young pitchers that Hub Kittle has babied along. LaPointe, Lottie, Martin, Stuper, who will be a starter in this series.
Charlie Moore fouls it off. LaPointe never had a losing record in the minor leagues. Came from Milwaukee with Sixto Lescano, Larry Sorensen, David Green for Ted Simmons, Fingers, and Vukovic. Charlie Moore. He doubled and scored in the 4th. Curveball hangs high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 8th.
LaPointe, a power pitcher. Good fastball. When he gets wild, he usually runs the ball wild, high to right-hand hitters that you just saw. Slider. Hub Kittle's worked out a curveball with him. You just saw it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Charlie Moore. High fly ball, left field. Lonnie Smith waiting. 1 out. Jim Gantner is the batter. Gantner flied to center field in the 2nd inning. Sacrificed in the 4th. Single and scored in the 6th. Really tried to beat out that bunt in the 4th inning. Moore had led off with a double. He moved him over. Out of play, strike 1.
The way his fastball, LaPointe, runs into left-hand hitters, he looks like he could be awfully tough. Maybe as hard a throw as they have in that staff. Andujar throws awfully hard.
Hit behind it. Ozzy's cut off. nice play by the third baseman Oberkfell. Beautiful play. I thought he was going to get by him.
Ken Oberkfell has been afforded the luxury of having an Ozzie Smith, and he says that he can play closer to the line. He was kind of on the line and in, but he showed his range to the left. Good off-balance snap throw.
2 outs, and it brings up Paul Molitor.
I want to remind fans that Saturday before or after Game 4 of this World Series, oh, what a fight we have for you. Frank the Animal Fletcher and James Hard Rock Green. It's a 12-rounder for the USBA Championship. We also have Sumo Wrestling at Sports World returns with an exciting lineup. That live championship fight, Sumo Wrestling, 4 o'clock after Game 4 of the World Series.
I love those nicknames. Hard Rock.
They didn't call.
Oh, does he sound tough?
They had a coach with the Cubs, Hard Rock Johnson. Oh, sure, Roy Johnson. 1 ball and 1 strike on Paul Molitor, and he was tough, Tony. Hi, 2 balls and a strike.
How's that saying go? Whether you hit Hard Rock or Hard Rock hits you, it's bad for you.
The on-deck batter, Robin Yount. Doesn't get it. Molitor may have chased a bad ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 6-0. Milwaukee's leading. We're in the top of the 8th. Looking ahead to the Cardinals, it'll be Porter, Green, and Oberkfell.
Looked like a pretty good change right there. It almost acted like a little bit of a screwball. Ran away from Molitor.
Right back up the middle. Smith knocks it down, but he can't make a play.
Anybody do that better than he does? It's incredible. You know, that man right there has been gifted with speed, quickness, and tremendous hand-eye coordination, which he has worked at. I think he has the ideal temperament for a shortstop. He wants every ball hit to him. He has the intelligence of a shortstop. He knows situations, hitters, how to anticipate.
Jack in the box. Look at this acrobatic talent, how quickly he gets to his feet. Look, he's ready to go. Realizes he can't get a speedy runner in Molitor, but he was ready.
I'll tell you, the standard I've used for years for shortstops is Mark Belanger. I mean, the Concepcion has been awfully good, and the steadiness of a Larry Boa. But using Belanger as the standard, this guy may be just a tad better. And that's saying a lot, I think.
That's a 4th base hit for Paul Molitor. Most hits in the game. It's been done 40 times. He ties a record with that base hit. And ball 1 strike on Yount. Medwick, Greenberg. I could read them all, guys, but humility keeps me from it.
You had 4 hits in a row?
Not in a row, but I have 4 hits in the game. Yount lines one to right field.
He just tied the record.
Yount has 4 base hits. Well, I tell you, in 46, Karowski, Slaughter, Garagiola, and Wally Moses had 4 hits in that game.
Number 15, first baseman.
Well, Robin Yount, who has, to me, a little unique batting stance, that it's closed. He chokes the bat a little bit. Look at how that top hand, he chokes the bat. You can see it with that right elbow up. It makes him more of a low ball hitter. You can see the head on the ball and the real tremendous weight shift, hitting off that firm front leg. I wouldn't say that's the ideal follow-through, although it looked like he might have been trying to push the ball the opposite way, or he got tied up inside.
You remember Harvey Keene? He used to hit the same way when a batting title hit off that front foot.
Not quite the power this guy's got.
No,
but gee, Harvey used to hit down the right field line and left field line.
Cecil Cooper with the count of strike 1. Molitor is on at second base. Yount is on at first. 2 men out. 6-0 Milwaukee leading in the 8th inning. It's outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Molitor with 4 base hits. Yount with 4 base hits. And there you see the runners. A home run by Simmons. He has 2 base hits. Broken bat. Flip to Ozzie Smith. The force is on. And so the inning ends. The score as we go 6-0 Milwaukee leading. And Dick,
Ozzie Smith, a great play. Didn't get his man, but showed his great ability. A lot of fine shortstops in the majors.
resembling the park that Herzog managed in Kansas City. Brewers in Kansas City this year were 1 win and 5 losses.
Now back.
Milwaukee likes to play on the road. They have the best record in the major leagues away from their home park, and they're showing the Cardinals a little bit of that tonight.
Linda Caldwell. Wide section, Milwaukee Brewers. High hopper's going to be a tough play. Can't get it. Base hit for Porter. $53,723 here. Not much to cheer. Porter has just opened up the 8th inning with the base hit. Brings up David Green.
Gander had swung around and played Porter as a pull hitter. He was well over toward that hole toward Cooper, so he had a long way to go on that ball. Just picked up the speed on artificial surface.
Green waiting. Foul ball, strike one.
Joe, there are some sinker ball pitchers like Caldwell who they say shouldn't pitch an artificial surface. Tommy John is one who's a similar pitcher to Caldwell, who says he turns it around as a positive. He says, I love to pitch on it because the ball gets to my infielders faster. I can set up my infield for double plays. And I think that's the way a sinker baller has got to look at this and turn what could be a negative into that kind of positive.
1 ball and 1 strike. 6-0, Milwaukee leading. Cooper's playing behind the runner at first base. There you see it. Right field. Charlie Moore going back near the wall, and he makes the grab. Charlie Moore makes the grab, taking an extra base hit away from David Green.
For a young hitter, David Green has shown today that he can go with a pitch. He lined out the first earlier to Cooper. Moore was playing shallow. That is the part of the ballpark more toward the foul poles where the ball carries better than from right to left center field. He made an outstanding catch.
Tony, that's where the warning track came into play, because Charlie Moore never did take his eyes off the ball, but he could feel himself leaving the artificial surface onto the warning track, and he just kept going until he made the play. That was just a great play by Charlie Moore. Oberkfell. Base hit, center field. Porter holds at second.
With a sinker baller, Carl on the mound. Gantner has been shading some left-hand hitters toward first base. He did for Oberkfell. Oberkfell is basically not a pull hitter. I don't know if that was a slider that he got up and over the plate that he just drilled up the middle.
So with 1 man out, here is Ozzie Smith. Base runners at first and second. Milwaukee leading 6-0. We're in the bottom of the 8th. Foul ball out of play, strike one.
Bullpen now starts going for Harvey Keene's Brewers with those 2 runners on base.
Yeah, this is a rare opportunity for the Cardinal fans. They have something to cheer about, trying to get something going.
Right-hander Peter Ladd, left-hander Bob McClure.
Line drive, right field. Moore is there, makes the catch. There are 2 outs.
While Raleigh Fingers is not up right now, we showed you Ladd and McClure, but we asked Fingers before the ball game if he was able to pitch if needed today or during the series.
Well, the injury that I have is I tore one of the flexor muscles here just off the elbow in my forearm, and it was black and blue for about 4 or 5 days, and it's still painful. I can throw, though, but for how long, I don't know. I can throw anywhere 20 to 25 pitches, and then it really starts bothering me. But I think I can go out there and get 1 or 2 outs if the occasion arises.
Raleigh Fingers, who's been the big man in the bullpen for a couple of ball clubs.
Hey, Joe, they've been saying that about fingers. He's been saying that for about 3 or 4 weeks. Like it's a day-to-day thing. So apparently it's more serious than a pull or a tear. It's right near that tendon in the elbow.
Well, there's no doubt that Peter Ladd is the big man out at bullpen for Harvey Keene these days. Ball 1 on Tommy Herr. There's a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 outs, 2 on. 6-0. Milwaukee leading. Bottom of the 8th. Cardinals an entirely different ball club when they have to play station to station. Hit a ball, stop at second, hit a ball, stop at third. They like to hit and keep making left turns.
And there have been more balls in this inning hit in the air to the outfield than any other inning previous to this.
There's another one, but Charlie Moore is there. And Charlie Moore is going to take care of the Cardinals in the bottom of the 8th. 2 base hits, 2 men left. But Mike Caldwell is the man of the hour as we complete 8 innings of play. It's the Milwaukee Brewers 6, the Cardinals nothing.
Right now, the one thing you want most is an
hot smash. Smith can't get it. Base runner Ogilvy coming around. He'll score, and it's 7-0 Milwaukee.
Joe, as we see these balls during this ball game today, just getting out of the reach of Ozzie Smith, who covers probably as much ground as anybody at short in baseball, you wonder if the slight edge of not knowing the Brewers' hitters is just costing him that one step where he can't get to a ball. He hasn't seen their swing before. Remember, these teams train in different sites in the spring. One in Arizona, one in Florida, so they don't see that much of each other. And Smith is so good at picking up the ball off the angle of the bat and anticipating, and he's come just that close to how many today? 4, 5? He just misses this.
So we've got a break in the action here. Milwaukee now leading 7-0. We'll be right back after these messages.
I've been hearing the so-called sports expert talk.
Flotty is the new pitcher for the Cardinals, came over from Cincinnati, so let's get a teammate's view from Tom Seaver.
Well, Joe, he came over from the Reds to the Redbirds over here and has done a good job for them. He's got a sinker and a slider, and he throws harder than he appears on the mound. And one thing this might do in a game which is 7-0 already, give this young man some experience, which Whitey might be able to utilize later in the World Series.
First pitch is hit over his head, and they do not get him. Tommy Herr barehanded the ball, but Charlie Moore beats it out. He's got his second base hit.
Once again, it appears that the Brewers' speed and Charlie Moore, an ex-catcher, does run very well. So again, we're back to will the Cardinals adjust on this turf as it goes along and bring their middle infielders in a little more closely. This is a nice try. This kid is so good. I think that the best double play combination in baseball right now, those two guys right out there. When Herr has his mobility, he's had some knee problems lately.
Gantner fouls off the first pitch, strike 1. Commissioner Bowie Kuhn, wife Louisa, man in the cap, Happy Chandler, recently put into the Hall of Fame.
There's a man sitting in the back, Dr. Bob Smith, is president of the U.S. Baseball Federation and the International Federation. They're pushing very hard to get baseball as a sport in the Olympics. Still may be a sport. It's experimental in '84. They still may become a gold medal sport. '88, chances are very good. Boy, 77 countries now playing baseball with the auspices of that federation by Dr. Smith.
Base runners. Money's on at second. Moore's on at first. 2 outs. Pull foul by Gantner. Count remains at strike 2. Tommy Herr, to get back to him, Tony, you talk about him so much, was signed as a free agent by Tim Thompson. Just like a walk-on almost. And he's a big 6-footer, 175-pounder. Outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Hernandez wasn't picked till like the 42nd round, and Oberkfell was just picked off the sandlots too. It's really an outstanding infield that primarily has been found by some good scouts who said, hey, I think this kid someday can make it to the bigs.
The men are the backbone of any organization. They beat those bushes.
There's no strategy going on there. I think they just switched signs, and Porter wanted to make sure that young Lottie was clear in his own mind. Tough enough to try to get somebody out when you're not sure what you're throwing. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Pull foul. Count remains in 1-2.
Little unfinished business because of the modesty of our colleague here, Tony. Only one other time in World Series history have we had players get 4 hits, more than one player get 4 hits in a game. We have 2 today. Molitor and Yount tonight, each with 4 hits. Back in 1946, the Cardinals and the Red Sox, Moses, Slaughter, Karowski, and Garagiola had 4 hits in the same game.
There's a base. Proud of me. Here comes 1 run in. Here comes another run in. Gander is digging hard. He ends up at third base. There's that gapper we were talking about. Seaver was talking about it way before the game started.
And you're looking at a number 9 hitter who hit .295 during the course of the year. And that number 9 hitter with the DH in the American League becomes very important because he kind of completes the cycle. Some instances he becomes that leadoff hitter at the end, and that is the reason that Molitor and Yount, hitting 1 and 2, have been able to drive in so many runs this year, because you've got a Gander down at the bottom of the lineup getting on base so often.
Well, even with the speed of David Green, you can see that's an ordinary single on a grass turf, but it just rolls and rolls, and Green's speed couldn't shag it down cleanly. A triple.
Foul tip. Strike 1.
There are some people beginning to leave here in St. Louis. Bunch empty seats down in the lower box seats. Somewhat unusual for game number 1 of a World Series.
Smith knocks it down. He's up. Here's the throw. It is not in time. Just missed him. Base hit. 1 more run scores. That's a 5th base hit. And it's a 10-0 ball game.
So the team that was supposed to have the speed, the matchup speed against power into this World Series, we have seen the speed of the Brewers one more time, just beating the ball out. Again, there may be some adjustments made as this series goes on.
And that's a World Series record.
And it is. 5 hits in 1 game, a new record. 5 singles, 1 run scored. Yount takes a strike. Yount has 4 base hits. We've just seen a record set. He may just tie it with a base hit here if he gets it. As Harvey's wall bangers are banging it all over the place. Two strikes to count on Yount. 5 singles is a record. Well, the writers had a little fun calling them Harvey's wallflowers when they weren't winning. Not tonight. They came to the dance and stayed. Yount down the third base line, a foul ball.
Well, just out of curiosity, something very interesting must have happened to keep you out of the record book with a 5. You got 4 hits. Did you just not get up the 5th time? What did you do the other time?
Got up, hit a vicious line drive.
Where?
I would have pinch hit for you personally.
No, I just fouled out.
The wall bangers have put 17 hits on the board. 10 runs.
A lot of crooked numbers up there. 10-0, and Caldwell has a 3-hitter going. Fastball. Yount takes a strike that ends the inning. So it's 10-0 as we go into the bottom of the 9th, and here are the pitchers who have really had to take this beating. Porsche, Cott, LaPointe, and now Lottie.
Following our telecast of this opening game of the 1982 World Series, your local news around the country, and then the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, and the Late Night Show with David Letterman, and then NBC News Overnight. And we hope you'll be with us again tomorrow night for Game 2 here from Busch Stadium, St. Louis. It'll be John Stuper, the young right-hander for the Cardinals, and veteran Don Sutton, acquired from Houston late in the season for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, living in Arizona, I got to say that they'll be seen at the regular time, except on the Pacific Coast and the Mountain Time zones, because we sit home in there in Phoenix, and we now I understand what I've been saying for all these years. Look at those numbers: 10 runs, 17 hits, no errors for Milwaukee, no runs, 3 hits, and 1 error for St. Louis. That's the formula. A lot of hitting and great pitching. It's inside, and it's ball 1 to Lonnie Smith.
Sometimes the irony of this game really gets to you, doesn't it? Here is a team, the Cardinals, winning in 3, the National League pennant. This ball club, the Brewers, pushed to 5. Cardinals pitching staff August, September has been excellent. Through the league championship series, they had a chance to set it up. The pitching staff didn't appear to be tired. Brewers pitching staff's been extended, and they come and get a game like this from Caldwell. You figure it out.
How about the MVP, guys? Is
There
it
he is.
Caldwell or is it Molitor with the hits? Yount? Simmons with home runs?
Can we split it? Caldwell and the record with 5 base hits for Molitor? I'm splitting my vote.
1-0 would have won it. I'm
Give me
going
a
for
vote.
Caldwell.
Give me a vote.
I'll take Caldwell. He would have won with 1 run, apparently.
Fly ball on the right field line. Charlie Moore drifting near the stand. It was fair ball. It was a fair ball, but he made the play, so it's 1 out. I'm giving it to Caldwell, Tony. So tonight's NBC Miller High Life player of the game is Caldwell. Miller High Life happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Caldwell to the Special Olympics. Mike Caldwell is our MVP. 1 out here in the bottom of the ninth, 10-0. Milwaukee leading. Caldwell a 3-hitter, and he has really been in control of this game. Bouncing ball. Gantner to Cooper. There are 2 outs and another ground ball.
That's ground ball number 12. He had a streak in the 8th and the first inning in the 9th where he actually got 4 outs by his right fielder Morris. So apparently he's getting the ball up, or was through that stretch.
7 ground ball assists for Gantner. He's kept warm.
So the Cardinals can start thinking about tomorrow and going to Milwaukee with a split.
Maybe down by 2.
Yeah, that's what they're shooting for, to get that game tomorrow now. You know what?
Fouls off the first pitch, strike 1.
George, you look at these two teams, and if you say there's one team that has a possibility of sweeping 4, and I'm not saying it's going to happen or wishing for it, but it would be Milwaukee, I think, over the Cardinals, because they are just so darn explosive. Those bats can get hot, and they haven't been hot for 3 weeks. But when they start hitting as a team, it gets contagious, as it has tonight.
They've put 17 hits on the board with 10 runs. 1 ball and 1 strike to count on Henrik. Bull foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 53,723.
May I have your attention, please? Will you please remove the banner from the left field bleachers?
And a lot of the folks have gone home early. That's the Cardinal bench. Outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Sam Simplizio, a part-time coach. Albano is also there. Don Sutton, 4-1. The man who really saved the division and maybe the pennant for the Brewers. A great Harry Dalton trade removed.
Foul territory. Cooper makes the play. That's the ball game. And the Milwaukee Brewers, and here they come out of the dugout en masse to congratulate Caldwell, who put on quite a performance. 10-0 Milwaukee over the St. Louis Cardinals. And Game 1 of the 1982 World Series has been brought to you by Atari, the leader in home video games for fun your whole family can share. By Gillette, makers of Right Guard. A man works hard, but Right Guard works harder. By Light Beer from Miller, everything you always wanted in a beer and less. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? So again, the final score, Milwaukee 10